Yeah, Navin, anytime. No volume, Navin. Navin, no volume. No audio. Navin, no audio.
He's trying to get it.
Navin?
Hello, everyone. Welcome, distinguished speakers, guests, and friends. Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, and warm greetings to all of you. I am Ashley Sinanan from Trinidad and Tobago, an independent researcher specializing in historical studies. I hold a bachelor's degree in history with a minor in literature from the University of the West Indies. This is the 324th edition of our ICC Thought Leaders Forum. We wish to sincerely thank all of you who have graciously contributed to the success of this ongoing Pan-Indo-Caribbean and Pan-Indian Diaspora Global Project. For 323 unbroken continuous weeks, we have been here every single Sunday. In the past 5 years, 11 months, and 1 week, we have featured 1,282 presenters speaking on 323 topics. We are pleased to have speakers and participants at this meeting from all parts of the world in different time zones. In order to continue this weekly program, we are asking for suggestions and volunteers. If you choose to give a donation, Dr. Mahabir should be contacted to provide details and will ensure that your name will be placed on our poster and all promotional materials. This weekly forum is being hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center, a legally registered research and publishing company operating since 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to introduce and welcome back our moderator today, who is Shalima Mohammed, who is the co-director of the ICC Zoom platform. She is a cultural and heritage consultant, business psychologist, teacher, and researcher from right here in Trinidad and Tobago. Shalima, welcome.
Thanks so much, Ashley. And thank you so much for assisting with Shakira and Navin to continue the program over the last, I think it was 3 weeks. Really appreciate it. So to everyone, Assalamu alaikum, namaste, and a warm welcome to all of you here in the Zoom room, as well as those of you who are viewing the live stream on the YouTube channel of the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center. Thanks very much for choosing to be here with us. And I'd like to wish a happy Women's Day to all of you females who are mothers, daughters, sisters, activists, and in every other role that you all fulfill. It gives me great pleasure to congratulate a fellow, very highly accomplished woman, Dr. Sita Shah Roth, for having won the first place in the Guyana Prize for Literature for her drama titled Kisna, which is based on a book that she published recently. Sita is at this time doing a presentation in Guyana as we speak. So to everyone, as we welcome a fellow Guyanese of hers, to congratulate him first of all on the book that he authored, The Life I Was Given. I'd like to welcome Mr. Naraindra Prashad. But a little bit about his book, first of all. It reflects a life shaped by fragility, faith, family, endurance, and quiet care for others. Naraindra Prashad was born in Georgetown, Guyana, and later, building a life in Canada, he traces a journey marked by childhood uncertainty, life-saving heart surgery, immigration, marriage, fatherhood, spiritual deepening, and an enduring commitment to community. He's a husband, father, grandfather, mentor, and yoga teacher. His book, The Life I Was Given, is his first memoir. This is not simply a story of survival. It's a story of how a life is formed through love and loss, discipline and devotion, and the steady choice to keep showing up for others. Written with honesty, warmth, and restraint, The Life I Was Given is an intimate and searching memoir about time, memory, and what it means to live with purpose. The critical question we must all ask ourselves today is, what do we do with the time that we are given? We have a number of speakers to follow, but it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you none other than Naraindra Prashad. You can go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you. So thank you, Shalima Mohammed, and thank you to Dr. Kumar Mahabir, the entire ICC team for hosting this forum. I will be referring to some notes, so so don't mind me. I'm honored to share reflections from my first memoir, The Life I Was Given. And at this point, I just noticed that the young man who helped me to do all of the designing for the cover, with the editing for the book and so on, he's on no other than Shankar Pachai. He's also Nepalese. He's 24 years old. And I just discovered him and he's helped me a lot with this. So I want to welcome him and thank him for all the work that he's done. So today I will focus on what inspired me to write the book, the writing process, how long it took, and how others can begin shaping their own memoir. So I'll focus more on the practical things. So on, I know the other speakers will speak on the book itself. I will read a little bit from the book as well as I am going through my presentation. So I'll start with a reflection, a guiding quote from the 14th Dalai Lama. And he has a quote that says, "The purpose of our life is to be happy." So while I subscribe to that statement, life reminds us that happiness is not always simple. We have emotions, struggles, and responsibilities to contend with. So I would expand on that quote further to say, and I often say this in my yoga classes and my meditation mindfulness classes, the purpose of our lives is not only to be happy, but also to make others happy. So when we help others through their troubles, we often move beyond our own. We become conscious of a cause that is larger than ourselves. So we tend to, we as humans, we have problems and we tend to focus on that, and then it tends to grow and it grows and it grows. So if we focus on helping someone else, then we forget a little bit about ours and don't focus as much. So that's the point I wanted to make there. So this memoir grew from a desire to serve others through writing. I've always been interested. I've started this process maybe 18 years ago because I worked at the University of Toronto. I took a creative writing certification, and I chose the genre I chose was personal narrative. So I've done some other kinds of writing, so but that's what because I knew one day I would like to write my story. I like storytelling, and I would use that opportunity to write my own story. So the time has come, 18 years later. And in case anyone, because my cousin said to me, wanted to know who is that person at the book cover, that's me. So I look a little different now. Anne knows who that person is. So that's me. And the response I give is that was 9 years ago when I started writing. So that's the anyway. So book sales from this project will go towards East Meets West Children's Education Fund. It's not that this is not a sales pitch, but I just wanted you to know that that's where all of the funds from the sale of the book will be going to. Our charity supports education for marginalized children in Nepal, in India, and in Guyana. We've been doing this for the past 6 years. So in my retirement, I saw that I saw writing as a meaningful way to combine my love for storytelling with more than 4 decades of professional and life experiences. So bring all of that together, and then my training, my in my program that I did for creative writing, I thought I could try and pull out all of this together. So retirement to me is not only about vacations or slowing down. So those of you who know me know that I've gotten even faster now than because when you're working, you can take your time a little bit and but now I'm just on the go. So it keeps me young, I think. It is also a time to use the knowledge we have gained to serve humanity. So many of us, we think we retire, it's time to, just relax, go on vacations. We, of course, can't vacation 12 months a year, or just do nothing. That's not healthy. So um, why not use all of the knowledge, experience, the skills that we have acquired in all of these decades of work of life and just do something with it when you have free time. So that's where I decided to move toward uh, going into the charity work that we're doing and all of that. So the book, there are three. So I might ask Navin if he could share the screen now with just the book cover, the cover of the book, so that we can refer to that. So please listen to me now, so that I know you might be tempted to read the back of the cover, so we could share that with you. It's already been shared actually, so don't spend the time reading. I just want you to look at the other side of the life I was given. So there's three themes to it. The life I was given, and that's quiet leadership, shared humanity, and the work that outlives us. So I'll place emphasis on those three areas or those three themes. So the first one, quiet leadership. So leadership, we often think that we have to be in the faces of everyone as the person in charge. And in my working life, I often thought of the person who's on the front line. We call them a receptionist, we call them whatever title they may have, but they're the true leaders of the organization or the department or wherever you're working. They're the true leaders. They're the ones who is the first point of contact. They're the ones who might bring people back or not. So they're the true leaders. So calm in leadership, calm is not passivity. It can be one of the most useful forms of leadership. So I was never drawn to leadership that needed constant attention. And I think my parents helped to model that because of their quiet service, steady standards, and the humility. At the University of Toronto, I came to trust that same pattern, and my leadership style did not need more noise. In fact, it needed steadiness. So leadership, we don't have to be loud, we don't have to be, in the face of everything, but we need to be steady in what we are doing. So that's where that theme came from, the quiet leadership. And as you read the book, you will learn more about that. So I'm just doing the highlights right now. Uh, Second theme is shared humanity. And this theme reflects the belief that our lives are connected through care, compassion, and responsibility to one another. Therefore, I will read two paragraphs from the relevant chapter that reflects on this theme. So if you bear with me, I will do some reading right now, and not very long, maybe 2 minutes or so. So this is chapter 14 of the book, and it's called East Meets West. East Meets West Yoga is our yoga organization, and East Meets West Children's Educational Fund is our charity that we support children, marginalized children, or children in marginalized communities. So I'll just read from the second paragraph of that chapter. By then, I had lived long enough to know that a life can become narrow even while it appears full. Family, work, faith, and routine can all be meaningful and still leave a person asking whether he has answered fully for what he has been given. For years, that question had followed me. It sharpened after surgery. It matured through adulthood and eventually began pressing outward. Education became one of the clearest places where that pressure took form. I had seen its power in my own life and in the lives of many students around me. I had also seen how often a child falls behind, not because ability is missing, but because the next practical step cannot be paid for. Fees, uniforms, books, transportation, supplies. The amount may be small on paper and decisive in a real life. East Meets West Yoga and the East Meets West Children's Education Fund grew from those recognitions. The name came naturally because my own life had already become a bridge between worlds. I was born in Guyana, in a country that was shaped by Indian inheritance, Caribbean life, migration, struggle, and endurance. I built my adult life in Canada. My spiritual life deepened through the temple, through yoga, through journeys to India and Nepal. East and West were not abstract categories to me. They were the actual coordinates of my life. But the deeper meaning of the name was not geography. It was connection. I wanted to create something that joined inner life and outward action, spiritual seriousness and practical help, cultural memory and present responsibility. Living in the West and partnering with Kapil Dev Bist, living in the East on our yoga journey, helping us develop that vision more fully. Over time, that became East Meets West Yoga and eventually the East Meets West Children's Education Fund. Education came first in my mind because I had seen what it can do. My father believed in it with almost moral force. At the University of Toronto, I watched every day as education widened lives, not only through degrees, but through confidence, language, access, and possibility. I also saw the other truth. Opportunity is praised more often than it is made real. Some young people arrive at the gates of education with support, resources, and confidence already behind them. Others arrived carrying all the weight themselves, and many never arrive at all. A school fee can stop a child A uniform can stop a child. The wrong timing, one unpaid amount, one practical obstacle too many, these can close a road long before anyone has the chance to call it wasted potential. I could not accept that easily. So the chapter goes on from there, but I will stop there just to give you a little flavor of the shared humanity and what led me to this after traveling to India, to Nepal, and really understanding the struggles of children and young people. And it's not limited to borders. We will expand. We started there, and we hope that our organization will grow so that we can just help kids. Doesn't matter where, but we have to start somewhere. So that's shared. The third theme is the work that outlives us. So I'll continue to read another couple of paragraphs that expand on this theme. So just bear with me for one. Okay. Community members. So this is from the same chapter that I'm continuing on. Community members contributed, friends contributed, family contributed. People gave money, time, attention, encouragement, connections, effort. Much of the finest support came without display. I have always preferred that kind of giving. It resembles the world I came from. My mother feeding people because they were hungry. My father making room because circumstances demanded it. No performance, no need to enlarge the self while helping someone else. That old lesson remained under everything. East meets West Yoga grew alongside the educational work because I did not want compassion to become merely administrative. The inner life matters. Breath matters, reflection matters, prayer matters, yoga, meditation, and spiritual disciplines create a different quality of attention. And without that attention, service can become mechanical or self-congratulatory. I had no interest in either. The more I lived, the more convinced I became that outward work and inward work must keep correcting each other. Service without spiritual depth can harden into ego. Spirituality without service can become decoration. So the work widened in both directions. There were children to support, there were youth to encourage, there were seniors to accompany. There were communities in India, Nepal, Guyana, and Canada carrying different needs, but asking the same human question. Who will notice and who will stay long enough to help? That question became more urgent to me with age, not less. So I will just skip a little bit and go toward the end so I can talk. I do not think of East meets West as a monument. I would distrust it if it were one. I think of it instead as a continuation of the house on Thomas Street, where I grew up, of my mother's instinct to feed and my father's insistence on purpose, of the surgery that gave me back time, of the faith that taught me devotion must become conduct, of the long education by which life slowly convinced me that compassion should not remain a feeling. It should take shape. That remains the standard by which I judge not only this work, but my own life. Not what I intended, not what I admired, not what I said I cared about. What in the end did my care become? So just to reflect a little bit on that, I was in India. So we can remove this slide now, the cover. So I was in India once, and then I used to go. I spent a month. I was going every day to an ashram and listen to lectures in the evenings. And one of the things that struck me was one of the Swamis. She was an American woman, and she wrote some books, from Hollywood to the Himalayas and some other ones. But I would listen to her lectures every evening, and one thing struck me was she says, "You do not give the little kids that you see on the streets walking, do not just give them handouts, just because that's not going to solve the problem. Don't give them 100 rupees. That's may buy a meal and that's it." She says, "Go back home and do something about it." So she was speaking to the audience. Go back home and do something about it. And that never left me. That was many years ago. So I'm going to wrap up now. I think I probably went over my time a little bit, but I will wrap up. So this memoir, it gathers the major pieces of my life, my formative years, my education, my charitable work, hobbies, and writing. It reflects how my life unfolded and how those experiences shaped my purposes. One key turning point was open heart surgery on December 8, 1976, which separated my life into before and after, and hence the main title, The Life I Was Given, which commenced on December 8, 1976. And in closing, I just have a small call to action here. In closing, my invitation to you is simple. Begin preserving your own story. Write one memory, one lesson, one turning point, or one act of service that shaped who you are. So start with one page, share one story, use your life experience to make someone else's path brighter. So it's, I mean, I'm not a writer by profession. I'm an accountant by profession. So writing wasn't one of the things, but I've always enjoyed writing. And, people have asked me, how did I decide to write and how did I go about writing it? And they needed practical advice. So I say start just a little bit at a time, put it together, and then, the time will come right. And if you're 20 years old, don't expect to write a memoir. Wait until you're my age. So that's it for me. And I will now say my goodbye and look forward to hearing the next speaker. Thank you.
Wonderful. Mr. Prashad, I want to thank you very much for that very inspirational presentation. While doing the readings, your voice reflected the sincerity with which you engage in your charitable work. It is obvious that you've had some life-changing experiences, and I really congratulate you sincerely for turning those kinds of experiences into something very, very fruitful, very positive as well. So thank you very much for your efforts and for having the courage to document it so that others can benefit from it. Thank you so much. To members of the audience, please, if you have comments and if you have questions, I'll ask you to either write that in the chat now or please just hold it on the side. We'll take your questions and so after all the speakers have presented. Thank you. So without further ado, let me bring on our second speaker. And this is Anne Clark. Anne lives in Canada but is originally from Barbados. She's a retired social services professional who has been an active community leader, helping to develop programs that empower and engage diverse communities. Welcome, Anne.
Thank you. Just a minor correction. I'm half Barbadian, not born there, but half, because I also have another Caribbean root. I'm from Dominica as well. But thank you for having me. First of all, Naraindra, thank you for including me as one of your speakers. And to ICC, into Indo-Caribbean Culture Center, thank you for including me as part of this. Okay, so here I go. I'm honored to be here. Let's start with this. Naraindra dropped off this book, and he told me it's a quick read. Small. It is small, but it is mighty and powerful. I've read it a few times now, and every single time I've read it, I've learned something else and I've gained something more from it. So thank you, Narendra, for putting this together. So Narendra's life and history and poetic storytelling style captivates and engages immediately and throughout the entire book. I now understand more about the depth and breadth of Narendra. Over the years, we've had many opportunities to get together, just the two of us, to get coffee, chat, we catch up, get some good laughs every now and again. And although I think I know him very well, this book showed me more about his passion and commitment to everything he gets involved with. I'm getting to know him better and better after each reading. I mean, after all these years, I'm still getting to know you. First, let's give viewers a little bit of a history of our connection. I've known Narendra for over 40 years. We don't seem that old, but it's over 40 years we've known each other. First, we met as students at the University of Toronto. As new students and fairly new arrivals to Toronto, we naturally gravitated to those of us in common backgrounds, so people of the Caribbean. We got involved with AXA. AXA is an African Asian Caribbean Students Association. Back in the 70s, the groups of us was small, so we were a wider diaspora of people. But now it's Asian community, African community, Eastern, so it's much bigger now. But here, at the time, we were a group of all of us together. We shared our cultures with the larger community on campus through involvement in many annual activities that showcased us. Narendra and I are also connected by family. First of all, I was a bridesmaid at his wedding, Zita and Narendra's wedding. And then I married his cousin. So we met and continue to meet at many family gatherings over the years. And my mother-in-law and his mother-in-law don't even talk. They're always on the phone with each other when they were babysitting our kids. So we are really very connected. We also connect through our community work. We are and have been involved in many community capacity building activities over the years, but the one that overlapped was University of Toronto alumni, which Narendra brought me into. And our roles included student mentoring, governance, being ambassadors, and among others. So we met often through those capacities as well. Through those connections, I've learned so much about him, but only through reading this book did I truly understand his internal strengths. His resilience really shone through chapter 6, where he retells his experience as a young patient in the hospital in Guyana. I felt that fear. But more than that, I felt his inner strength. Although he says in the book that he felt like he was not in control, I found that he persevered, so there was control. He still persevered and moved on from that. He ends that chapter with a line, "What becomes of a person who is helpless, and what becomes of those who stand over him? What became of that person is who we see here today. A man who has used the life he was given to make a positive impact on many communities he interacts with, both at the micro and macro levels." So now what I'll do is I'll go briefly over some of the chapters, very few of the chapters all the chapters very impacted me, but I was clearly told I only had 15 minutes. So I picked a few that most affected and impacted me. So let's start with chapter 7, which is August 22nd, 1976. This is a telling of his family's move to Canada. Strangely, and I'll explain why it's strange. Strangely, this is one of the biggest takeaways from this book. One of my biggest takeaways was experiencing that overwhelming feeling of leaving a home with your entire family to locate to a strange place. Since that was never my experience, I got to see it through Narendra's eyes. In that chapter, Narendra's words covered feelings caused by displacement that I could never imagine. He faced all of this while still acutely cognizant of his precarious health. I think we generally live in our little, not everybody, obviously this community here is probably different, but a lot of us live in our own cocoons and sometimes never get out to understand the lives of other people and the circumstances that other people face. I pride myself, I do, having a great level of empathy because I've worked in and volunteered in community and social services my entire career and life. Even without living the lives of others, we can understand challenges and obstacles that they face by listening to and learning from them. Understanding what it takes to uproot entire families and move to new foreign lands and the challenges that come with that, we get to understand. I was very moved by that experience and have spoken to a few people since. So why I say it's strange, because I generally ask a lot of questions of people to understand circumstances. That's my job and that's my life. But that particular thing of moving entire families, because I never experienced it, for some strange reason, I never even inquired. I have a husband that happened to, and yet I never asked him about this experience. I did after reading this. I asked him what it felt like. What was this about? I actually, reading the story, visualized suitcases by the door, people all dressed up, ready to head out to the airport, families and friends gathered to say goodbye. That feeling was so visceral to me and so well conveyed by Narendra in this book. I say all of this to say that he reminds us to always seek to understand others by listening sincerely and without judgment. Only then we can know what is needed by people of the world, especially marginalized and vulnerable people. Chapter 12 is the next one that impacted me. Head and heart. In this chapter, I got great insights into his leadership style, the balance of head and heart and active listening. And to quote him, helping people to see clearly to take the next step without panic. This chapter is certainly a full course on how to effectively lead, not manage, lead people to reach their full potential and improve productivity. So Narendra, if there is a book there to be written, there's more than one, because I think Shalima said you have more, this is your first. There's more than one. So if there's a book to be written, that chapter is your first step into that book. I think a lot of, having worked in with many people over the years, I realize leadership is not an innate skill, and you clearly have mastered that. So I think you should probably consider going into that. So I wholeheartedly recommend this chapter to everyone considering leadership roles, but not only leadership, but just working with people in all different settings. If I were to choose the best quote in that chapter, I would read the entire chapter. It was honestly one of my favorites. But the last line of the chapter summarizes his leadership capabilities well. Because in the end, I quote, because in the end, life is measured not only by how much weight it can carry, but the kind of weight it helps others bear. So the next chapter I'm reviewing is East Meets West. Now, Narendra already did that and actually even quoted some of the things that I'm going to be quoting, but I think we'll take it from a different perspective. I'll start with the quote, and one which he said, I have lived long enough to know that life can become narrow while it appears full with family, work, faith, and routine. While Narendra does work primarily with young people now, in this book is a great source of inspiration for them, young people. This line shows me that it is a book for all ages. I am now in a stage of my life where I am surrounded by people considering retirement or have retired already like me. They are often afraid that they will lose their purpose since work may have been all-consuming. This line, as well as the example of his life, will inspire all of us, should inspire all of us to seek more purpose as we age. And Narendra talks about that. We have a lot of skills that we've used for many years. Why are we wasting it now that we are no longer getting paid to work? So I'm hoping that everybody will be inspired by Narendra's examples. Narendra has certainly filled his life with meaningful activities. In serving vulnerable populations internationally, he exemplifies the quote by Obama. If you go out and make things happen, you will fill the world with hope. His life and this book will continue to fill the world with hope. I'll conclude with my overall view of Narendra through this memoir. He can be characterized by his belief in God, perseverance, good work ethic, giving back, and the love of family and humankind in general. These traits are shown in this book and should be shared widely towards building a better world. I've chosen just a few chapters to share my insights on Narendra, the person and his memoir. But this is just a small glimpse into a much bigger, multi-dimensional picture. I wish I had more time. I probably have spoken so quickly, I could have had more time. But I'm sure the next two speakers will undoubtedly bring wider perspectives on all that Narendra has offered and what he has said through this book. So I thank you for listening to me, and I look forward to listening to the next two people on the panel, Liz and Jagdish. Thank you.
Anne Clark, I want to thank you very much. It was very, very informative. Your comments about how moved you were by Narendra's narration of his family's migration forced me to reflect on my foreparents' migration from India to the West Indies. It was under hardship and hope, similarly. And I know that you too are a migrant. I can't imagine how difficult it was under your situation as well. I want to thank you for pointing that out.
Can I add one more thing? We talked about one book about leadership to add to his list, but you have another book to write as well, Narendra. Because we talked about the many times we get together as family. Narendra is a cook and he makes the best bakes. There's another book idea, Narendra. Thank you.
Okay. No pressure.
None. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Again, I want to remind members of the audience, we will take your short questions and comments at the end of all the presentations. So without further ado, let me just bring on our third speaker now, and this is Jagdish Prasad Beast of Nepal. He is published in international journals and writes on economics and public policy for the Kathmandu Post. He's a PhD student in economics at the University of Texas in Dallas. Welcome.
Hi, namaste. Thank you, Salima, for this introduction. And thank you, Dr. Kumar, for this platform. And Narendra ji, I call him my Guruji, by the way. That I think I'll be repeating many times throughout this presentation. Thank you, Guruji, for giving me this book early to read. And I think I read it before anyone read it except him. And I enjoyed reading from beginning to end.
He was one of the readers to let me know if it's a go ahead. I had 3 of them, so Jagdish was one, and he gave me the okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that. And I think I'll be sharing a screen. I have a few slides to share, and then I'll present it from my viewpoint and my perspective. I hope you can see this screen.
It's coming up now. Yes, we are seeing it.
Okay. All right. So I also have some notes, but let me see if I'm going to use them or not. So I know Guruji, that Narendraji, it's been 4-5 years now. We have been working on some projects in Nepal. It's generous support, it's donations from East, Midst, West, Children's Fund is supporting many kids in Nepal, scholarship and everything. I knew him that way. But more than that, we have had other relations. I mean, when I was reading this book, I could see my childhood. It is not similar in that way, but I can remember how the things have been shaped, how my mindset has changed many times based on the society and other things. I see this one in this book a lot. Every chapter, it reminds me, okay, there is something that is making him more motivated to do good for the society and for his life. And one thing that I liked most about this book and his writing is he never, ever in this book attributed any achievement to his sole, any individual skill, but it's coming from different sources, from family, from friends, from his own hardships or the crisis that he had been through. And he's been utilizing those things throughout the life. So I will see this from that perspective. I mean, that's the question that I'm going to start, and I'm going to put this book throughout. It's how much of the person we become. It's shaped before we understand that we are being shaped. There are some questions by the author throughout the book that kept me wondering what makes a life, and what makes people choose different paths. Is it the society? Is it the individual perceptions, or is it simply the way you live? And answer I found throughout the chapters is that life is not simply what we lived. It's formed. It's formed in different ways. If you go through the chapters, I see his early childhood in Guyana, youngest in a family with 10 kids. That's a hectic, I guess, job to grow. I mean, I could relate. I have five siblings. We were six, but 10 is that's just amazing to see. But he enjoyed that life. He enjoyed relations with every member, father, mother. He was playing. He knew early he had something in the problem that is going on in his chest, but he never complained about that. He was living the life, and then he had that amazing families that giving values and in every perspective that I could see how he's learning the principal life from the father, discipline and generosity and the love and emotions from mother, and then kindness from the brother and sisters and other events of the society that they were that he was living in Guyana in early age. And then of course he had crisis, and then even he did not complain. He was looking for the purpose of what I'm going to do beyond this. Or I mean, one more thing that I must say here, he never complained, how am I going to get uh, out of this crisis situations throughout the book. He was simply living. That's wonderful to see that. Generally we feel that, okay, how am I going to get out of this, what could be the cure, and who is going to help me out. He was into something else. He was not into that, but what I'm going to do with my life if everything is going to be well, or whatever I have so far, or how many, it doesn't matter how many days I have, what I'm going to do with that life. That's what he has been doing throughout. And that was striking. And those events were similar to my personal life as well. When I was reading, I've been to the similar situations in difficulties and other things, but I could still see that the the way he lived, that's totally different than the way I did overcome those situations. So I believe every individual has their way of doing things, and those things get saved by these phenomenons. And he has a purpose. He has a leadership. Now he's giving back to the society. I'll get back on that phenomenon, soon. So I believe it's a there could be circumstances and that save us, and there are, of course, but they do not have to define us. It's a how we define them, how the individual is defining those situations, and how they help to grow throughout that life situation. And that's what we can see if you go through that book. It's a crystal clear how simple it is to understand, and how wonderful it is to see that someone at this age has been feeling that he has something to give back to the society, not only to live with. That's a that's what I liked most about the first few chapters. And then uh, what I feel what I feel again is that this book is not only to read. It's not only memoir. It's a learning, and it's a important tool for kids or of any age, especially I would say the younger generations, when they feel that something is not working for them, or feeling low in their life, lacking motivations or the things. Then this book could be really helpful for them. Uh, Seeing how one small kid born in Guyana in a family with 10 simply went through such situations, and then was leading at the University of Toronto ultimately, and then now giving back to the society. So that's a good read. It's going to be wonderful learning opportunity and for the younger generation. So I'm going to put my presentation forward on a similar path, what I learned from this book and what can be seen for the readers of different ages. So the other thing this book was providing me when I was reading, it's a of course it's a life story, but it's beyond that. That I get to know a lot of things that still at this age. Now I have to. I might see things differently. If I'm in trouble, I might not be worried that much. I might feel like, oh, maybe there must be a way, and I should not be worried about the problem right now that much. Let's think ahead of the future, and how am I going to overcome and do. If in the meantime I mean, there are different helping hands, I will overcome the situation, but the future is more important, and what's my life for. And so the author's early childhood, it shows that the family, faith and community, responsibility, and everyday experiences become a child's first education. So that's the biggest learning, because since we are working with kids for the scholarship, for education, so if we could teach them this way, if we could narrate this book to them in some way, the life that he has lived, it is going to be very helpful for them to get to know how the society works, how the people grow over the time period, and the situations that they are feeling right now is not unique to them, it's for everyone, and they have eventually to grow that out. And one more thing that I liked here is the education that mostly we feel that comes from the school, but this book tells us something else. So his learning throughout the book is coming from the family, society, his parents. So I, quote unquote, I'm going to read one statement from the book. Uh, he was writing, and the book says, "When I think now about who formed me, it's about life again. I do not think first of the ideas. I think of examples. My mother carrying a plate to someone who needed feeding. My father refusing to lower a standard because lowering it would have been easier." So this is very strong statement from the other, from me, and I guess the same thing goes to everyone else out there. It's a learning from the family. He has been seeing generosity in the family, and there are other, I mean, sentences that I could remember from the book. I mean, there was an incident, something going on, and it's a political kind of incident, and people were coming to house. It's always open for them. They could come, they could stay, they could live, eat whatever they have, and they could go. So that's what he had seen, and that saved his life forward. Now the same thing he's been doing is giving it back to the society, and he has never felt that the things are only for him. It's for everyone's use, and generosity and help is one of the most important thing that has lived within him. And the same thing that the learning thing that he was getting from the father was, you should not lower standards. You should not walk through the easier path. Even if it looks easier, you'll get to this, but it lowers standards. That statement I could resonate so strongly with my understanding that I have been following this thing. I would always choose the difficult path, but I mean, I could never say that. When I was reading that, it was like, oh, this is it looks like me. It looks like my father is telling me the same thing again. So that's a great learning for kids here and for anyone.
Jagdish, can you bring back the picture up? Since you used that
Yeah,
photo,
yeah, this is, yeah.
I will just
That's
explain what it is because I think
okay.
yeah, and maybe some explaining. That photograph was taken at the University of Toronto on the day of my graduation, my when I had my graduation, and you can see around my father's neck, it's the hood. I was hooded, and Zita, my wife, who wasn't my wife at that time, she was well, I didn't know what she was at the time. We were gonna get married, so she took the
Okay.
hood and placed it around him, and then they were, I think you can see the happiness in their faces, and that was the day of my graduation, and you can see the background. That's one of the older buildings at the University of Toronto. University College. So that's 1982, June 1982.
Thank you. Thank you for the explanation, Guruji. So this thing is it's very strongly resonating with me, and I guess with everyone. And another thing that I learned, and could be learning for everyone, and it strongly could be extracted from the book, is when there are less resources, it's not about that we should be frightened. We simply read this author's experience of limited resource and circumstance that could not simply be changed. It's for one's comfort. He has never tried to do that. Shows that how difficult environment can require resourcefulness, responsibility, adaptability, and determination. So sometimes people get irritated, frightened, and then worried that, but that's not how it works. And simply these things are highly practiced by the author throughout the book and his life, and that's how he get peaceful and his way of living. That was wonderful. So I'm going to read this one from the hospital in Guyana. It's when he was admitted, he had seen that some test is coming out. It's becoming big, and then they went to the hospital. And that night, I was expected to sleep beside a stranger in a hospital bed. Already too small for one person's fear, but I could not do it. I sat instead by the window in a chair, looking out into the dark and listening to the sounds of the ward behind me. So that's the adaptability. And at that age, a kid is sharing that small bed with another kid, and he is not crying, he is not complaining, he's just going aside, letting him sleep, and then he's just by the window and listening the sound. So that's a lot determination, adaptability, and responsibility at that age. So, but the most important thing that I would say is we should never romanticize the hardship, but we need to respect it. The deeper lesson is that our circumstances influence us, but how we respond to them helps shape who we become. And the difficulties are not to be, you know, criticized or complain about. It's how we come across them, and that's a learning that many people could get from this book. And then probably the last the slide, and I only have a few minutes left. So time is over, but I'll just make it just one more minute. So it's a when you are coming from an operation theater, most of the time what you feel is, am I going to live okay? Maybe I have not had that experience, but people would be worried about what is going to go with their situation. But he is in a different mood. He maybe he has already been through a lot of things. That's normal for him. He already accepted that he has something wrong within his health, and he's eventually going to conquer it. But that's not a usual kid's thinking. It's a different level of thinking. So let me read a quote from the book. Even in the moments of uncertainty, this shows his calmness, composed and intellectually curious. If I live, what do I do with the life that remains? This is before he goes into the operation theater. So he's concerned with what he's going to do. He's not concerned with whether he's going to make it or not. So that's how the different perspectives that people have, and it's great to see that in that age. And then finally, after he came out of the operation theater, he knew that everything went well. Now he has different things to propose. He was thinking, let me read. By the time I understood that the operation had truly worked, something else had already begun to change in me. Relief was not the whole feeling, neither was the happiness. There was also a growing sense that the life I had recovered could not be treated lightly. So that's the thankfulness to the operation. And whatever doctors did, and then to be spent and then drift seemed somehow impossible, and survival did not feel like a conclusion, and it felt like a question that had just been handed back to me. And that was from the book. So I would strongly suggest read this, and you could interpret as that fits in your life, or other others' life. So finally, this is what he has been doing. He has been a lot, and now he's giving back to the society. I mean, you cannot resist seeing, and resist seeing that he's doing this from the early age. He was seeing the families doing the same, mother, father, parents, sisters, brothers, and now he has been doing similar things throughout. And when he retired now, he has been doing great things for the kids in Nepal, Guyana, India, and other countries. So one of the things that will remain with me forever is that I remember this sentence when he was flying back. I mean, flying to Canada with his family, and he had that thing with the heart in within his health. The doctors, the X-ray report, and the health reports, the airline agencies, they refused to take him to Toronto. But then uh, there is always, I mean, someone to look after. And there was a elderly doctor in Guyana who just said that what is this child is going to do here without his father and mother. So he just approved that medical result, and that's how he got to the plane. He had a lot of troubles breathing on board, but eventually he made it to the Toronto and then got the operated, and then finally he's okay. Now he has been living wonderful life, and this book is very close to me personally, professionally, and I get to know a lot of things. Uh, I would close my presentation with this thing. These are some of the photos that he has been doing. And I'm going to close this presentation with the question from the book: what are you doing with the life you were given? It's to everybody, everyone. You can answer as per your perspective and to yourself. We don't have to answer this to anyone. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Namaste.
Jagdish, a very profound question. I want to thank you very much for a very enlightening presentation. I was quite pleased to see that you used your economist lens to review his memoir. I'm not sure if any other speaker would have dwelt on the allocation of scarce resources for maximum benefit, which thankfully now redounds to philanthropy. Thank you. Thank you very much. Just a reminder again to members of the audience, we'll take your short questions and comments after all the presentations.
May I make one comment before we move to Liz? Just to clarify one thing, because I know, I mean, when we read the book, but what Jagdish was referring to is that I was the last to migrate in my family with my parents because I'm the youngest. And when the medicals went in for five of us, my two siblings and my parents and myself, they used to have to send them to Trinidad for approval. And theirs all came back approved, and mine was rejected. So they said there's something wrong, so I have to go back and have my medicals done. And it would have been rejected again because the problem, of course, is still there. But there was an elderly doctor who was in Guyana, and instead of sending the medicals back to Trinidad, they said he can look at it and approve it or not. So he was 80 years old, and my mother went to take the medicals there, and he looked at it and he said something is wrong. His heart is enlarged and he needs to get it looked after and so on. But I'm going to approve this because what's this child going to do alone by himself in Guyana when the entire family is gone? So that's what Jagdish was referring to when he read. I didn't go into that detail in the book, but I did. You can, pick that up in there. So
Yeah, thank you very much for
praise
clarifying that. I'm I'm always surprised to hear how much of a role Trinidad played in the life of Guyanese, using here not just for medical purposes or for visa purposes. And even now, we have Guyanese coming here to get visa to be approved for Canada, etc. So thank you very much for sharing that.
I also did get ill on the plane too, and they had to give me oxygen. So that's another story. That's in the book as well. So I did, as soon as we reached altitude, the highest, the altitude, I was.
Naraindra, we are doing very good for time. Our speakers have really kept to the time. So before I bring on Suzette, would you like to share a little bit about that experience?
So I was, okay, I was, so the plane took off and we were all seated. I was beside my mother, I think, and then my two siblings were on the other side. And then I started having trouble breathing once we got up because I'm 17, and by then the problem had really gotten larger. In fact, it was a hole, and the hole has gotten larger. They said some children when they're growing, if they are born with a hole in the heart, atrial septal defect, it closes up. I know there are some uh, cardiologists on here right now. So, but I'll still speak from what I know. It closes up, but in my case, it was getting larger. So, mind you, I was growing well as too. So that was all a miracle. I'm still growing well physically, but inside there was. So I started having trouble breathing, and then I tried to contain it and not to alarm anyone, but then it got to the point I couldn't breathe, so they had to come and administer the oxygen until I could settle down and travel. So it was a miracle that I got through. So that's why I wasn't getting the medical, I guess. So, and medical.
Yeah, it's possible that the original doctor thought that the higher elevations with lower oxygen might have adversely affected.
Well, no, also they didn't want me to come here and be a burden to the Canadian,
Well, of course.
medical system. It would have cost 100,000 at that time, I think, to have a,
Was that visit for the heart surgery, or rather, when you went for heart surgery, did you remain in Canada or did you come back again?
No, we got our PR, our permanent residency, and that's when we came. So I didn't have to go back. No, I stayed.
See. Good. So we'll hear a little bit more about that after Lizette. Let me bring her on. Thanks for sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, our fourth and final speaker today is Lizette Singh, who is now in Guyana but spent many years in the US. She's a former interim network director of a large New York family childcare network. She's now pursuing the mission of creating a safe and loving home for children in need in Guyana. Pleasure to have you. Welcome, Lizette.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you to all the speakers, and thanks to the entire ICC team. It's been a joy listening to the story, and for me, it's also emotional because Naraindra is my cousin, and he's my buddy cousin, and if you can understand what that means, that we are close, and from the time we were kids. So let me go ahead and not get too more worked up with my emotions, but let's see if I can get through this without shedding a tear. So today I'm going to take some time to journey through a deeply moving memoir, a story built not on grand speeches, but on the quiet strength of survival, family, and what it truly means to carry hope. I'm so sorry, but I'll get through it. Narendra's memoir moves us through two distinct worlds: the warmth, bustling heat of 180 Thomas Street, Georgetown, Guyana, and the sterile, cold precision of the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto. More than a story of geographic movements, this is a record of human spirit navigating a body that was fragile from the very start. Across the first 8 chapters, 3 clear themes emerge: courage, hope, positive influence. The quiet nature of courage. Now, when we think of courage, we often picture bold, dramatic actions. But this memoir redefines courage as something much quieter, simple, and far more relatable. The decision to remain still in the face of absolute terror. We see this most profoundly in chapter 1, the day they opened my chest. The author is just 17 years old, lying on a cold steel stretcher at sick kids in Toronto. He looks up at the white rectangular ceiling. He looks up at the white rectangular ceiling panels, passing one by one. He explicitly writes, "I was not brave. I was trying to be still." That line carries so much truth. Courage isn't always feeling fearless. Sometimes courage is simply allowing yourself to be placed on a table, offering your fear up to the hands of strangers, and trying to stay still while your heart stopped and restarted. While we see this quiet endurance again in chapter 6, The Ward. And Jagdish talked about this. At just 13 years old, after collapsing at the seawall, he is placed in a crowded public hospital ward in Georgetown. The conditions are harsh. Beds are squeezed together. Privacy is non-existent. And he is even forced to share a small hospital bed head to foot with another stranger. Terrified and stripped of basic dignity, he makes a choice. That's courage. He sits up all night in a metal chair by the window. And he writes in his memoir, quote, "It was the first time I understood that illness is not only pain, it is exposure." End quote. Sitting in that chair, staring out into the dark while his body aches is an act of pure resilience. It is the courage to hold on to one's selfhood when everything around threatens to strip it away. The hope in the first 8 chapters. Hope as a quiet practice. Hope in this book is never loud or boastful. It is not a guarantee that everything will turn out fine. Rather, it is the refusal to let fear have the final word. In chapter 2, Born Against the Blue, the author enters the world January 18, 1959, suffering from cyanosis, a blue baby struggling for air. The medical team advice given to his mother is thin. She carries her newborn home right into the middle of a household of 9 older siblings. The author writes, quote, "I began with blue around the skin and worry in my mother's eyes. I began with uncertainty and was carried home anyway. That too is a kind of beginning worth remembering. Not safety, but being held." That is where hope begins. not in the guarantee of safety, but in the willingness to hold life when it is fragile. Hope is carried in the routine of daily life, in laundry, in cooking, and school uniforms, moving forward despite an underlying shadow. Later in chapter 7, and one of our readers quoted this again, August 22, 1976. As the family prepares to leave Guyana for Canada, an elderly doctor in Georgetown reviews the author's worrisome x-rays. Instead of stopping the family's journey, the doctor offers practical mercy, asking this question, quote, what is this young boy going to do all alone in Guyana if his family all leave him behind? End quote. That single sentence reopens the door to their future. It allows them to board the plane, carry their fragile hope across an ocean towards a real medical diagnosis. For the influence. Perhaps the richest part of this memoir is how it demonstrates that who we become is rooted in the atmosphere created by who raised us. In chapter 3, Thomas Street, and chapter 4, My Mother's Hands, My Father's Rules, we are introduced to a vibrant environment of family hope. The author shares a brilliant reflection of how his parents shaped his inner world. To quote, people speak often about influence as if it were a matter of instruction. More often, it is the atmosphere. It is the climate in which a child grows until it becomes its own weather, end quote. He contrasts his parents' unique gifts with beautiful simplicity. His mother, Sahodri, taught through action. Her kindness was practical. If someone knocked on the door, a plate of food appeared without a fuss. The author writes, my mother could make even corrections feel tender. She taught the house to open. His father, Chandrabali, a former firefighter, who built and expanded their house with greenheart timber and car jacks, he stood for discipline, standard, responsibility. And then the quote is, my father could make affection arrive through standards. He taught it to stand. This combination, a mother who opened the house to others and a father who taught it to stand strong, built an invisible armor around the author. It taught him that life is shared, that obligation is a gift, and that no person lives entirely for themselves. Conclusion, or sort of, the question left behind. As the memoir moves through the diagnostic clarity of chapter 8, Sick Kids, where the mysterious condition is finally named as atrial septal defect, we are brought back full circle to the quiet aftermath of the operation room in chapter 1. Waking up from 8 hours of open heart surgery, feeling the sharp pull of pain and the slow realization that he survived, the author does not experience a grand Hollywood moment of victory. Instead, he feels a quiet, profound assignment. He writes, relief did not arrive in triumph. I had been given back to myself. The fact did not feel like an award or a reward. It felt like an instruction. I did not know yet how to obey. As he lies there in recovery, hearing the steady rhythm of the monitor, the heart monitor, beep, 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 it no longer sounded like a simple medical machine. It sounded like a question. If I live, what do I do with the life that remains? This memoir does not offer an easy pre-packed answer. Instead, through simple, meaningful words and vivid memories, it leaves us with an enduring reminder. Courage is staying still when you are afraid. Hope is carrying each other through uncertainty. And a life well lived is the answer to the question our second chances ask of us. Now, to wrap up the conclusion, I believe this book was well written, and it can be, as Jagdish said, and I think he saw my notes, said that this book can be a tool for children and young adults and even older adults. There's no limit because it really teaches those life skills. As Jackie said, the author did not reflect on himself, but what he gave and how he endured, that courage, that hope, those positive influence. It brought him through, and it will bring us all through if we just see things that way. And if we can teach the children and teach the young adults and teach even older adults, just to see things that way, that this life is worth giving back. It does not just for ourselves. It's just something that we need to do to give back. And anything, we can do a little something or a big something. And as the question asked us before, what do we do with the life that remains? Or what do we do with the second chances that we have? Thank you all for listening.
Izzat, I want to thank you. Thank you very much for a very insightful presentation and for continuing with the readings from that memoir. Really appreciate it. And I can see how close the two of you were. You were quite moved. And I'm also reminded that it seems to me that philanthropy runs in the family. So thank you both for doing all the charitable works that you're engaged in. With that, I want to open the floor to your questions and comments. I'm seeing just 2 in the chat, but let me just remind you, if you do have a short question or a comment and you'd like to raise them yourself, please raise your electronic hand, which you will find in the reactions button at the base of your Zoom screen. And let me take our first question from Kumu Gupta, who already has her hand up. Kumu, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I kind of joined late, but I had 2 questions. One is I saw something that said fundraising something edition. So I was wondering what that's about in one of the slides. And then the second one is I just want to say that I'm always so amazed and inspired when I attend these sessions because every time I see the resilience, the courage, the enthusiasm of everyone, and it's just remarkable. So my question is that where did the inspiration come from to write this book? I mean, it takes a lot of courage, and it's a very, very nicely written book. I haven't read it, but I can tell just from the topic and from today's discussion. So that's very remarkable. So where did the inspiration come from to write the book? Thank you.
Okay,
Kumu,
so
let me just, Naraindra, before you respond, I know you said it at the beginning, but please, for those persons who came in after, please go ahead with your response. But before you do, I just want Kumu to come back on. Kumu, could you please tell the audience where you live right now and where you came from?
Yeah, I'm in Boston, Massachusetts, USA. And what was the other question? Is that enough or?
Where did you come from? Where did you,
Oh,
what were you?
where did I come from? Well, I was born in India, in Bombay, and my father's side is from Benares, and my mother's side is from Pune. But I lived in the Middle East pretty much my whole childhood, and then I've been in the US since my undergrad days. So.
All right, good. Thank you very much. Narendra, let's get
Okay,
you.
yes, so sorry, Ms. Gupta, you missed that at the beginning. Um, about the charity. So I'm a yoga teacher. I mean, I did many things, and some even my siblings don't even know that I did a certification in creative writing. And so I keep things a little quiet because I don't like noise. So I I did my certification
I
in
could interject there for 1 second. I knew.
creative writing. Uh, and I am also a yoga teacher. So I did that while I was working. I did that certification in teachers training for yoga, and I was teaching part-time. I would go to work at the university, and in the evenings I would teach, and on the weekends. So and then the pandemic came, and when the pandemic came, everything shut down. So I could not go to teach. I was teaching at one of the big gyms in Canada, and I could not teach anymore there in 2020. So then I had already met Kapil in Rishikesh, and we decided to start our online classes. And a lot of the people who were my students started following us. Some are on today, also still with us. And then it just grew. I went to visit him in Rishikesh, and then we saw what was going on there with the children on the street and so on. So we started, our yoga group was called East Meets West Yoga. That's the yoga organization, and it's a not-for-profit, but not a charitable organization. And then recently, in the last 2 years, 2 years ago, we we got charitable status for an organization called East Meets West Children's Education Fund. We are supporting kids in Rishikesh at the moment, in Nepal, it's a village called Beldani, um, and also in Guyana. We are so those are three intermediaries or partners. We raise the funds here, and then we send the money for scholarships and school supplies and whatever the needs are there in those places. So I decided that I'm going to complete this book this memoir, which I had started thinking about 18 years ago when I started my creative writing certification. I wanted to do something, so I decided, okay, now is the time. I will do it, and we'll use the funds that we raise for the charity. So the books are being, and now it's for the sales pitch. It's the books are being sold for $30. The funds are going to the organization, and we have ways of getting the books out, different ways to get the books out to individuals. So yes, so in summary, this is the fundraising edition. This is the first edition. This is the fundraising edition. So that's what you saw on the cover, and all of the sales will be going to.
Narendra, could you please share with the audience how exactly they can make a contribution to your
Charity.
not to your charitable organization? It's now charitable. How can they make a contribution to that, and how can they purchase the books as well?
So I mean, one of the things, and I will be honest about it, is that it's so expensive to mail from Canada to the US to Europe and so on. Like it's really, I'm concerned that the Canada Post is getting all of this money for a book. So we try to find ways. In Canada, it's fine. You can go online. I could share the link, and you can go online and place an order. We have a website, and I have a page I did mention Shankar at the beginning, who helped me, who did the designing and so for the book and the editing, and he's been doing all of the social media work for it. So he's created a page, and you're able to go on there and purchase the book. And yeah, you're able to purchase the book from there, and we'll ship it from here.
Right. So, are you saying it's available via Amazon, for example?
We don't have it on Amazon yet. We are just selling it. We are just doing all of the sales. This is new to us, where I'm not very familiar with all the things. So we hope to put it on Amazon, but right now we have a drive. We'd like to sell as many books because we'd like to raise as much money so that we could fund the scholarships and so on, which Jagdish could have told you about earlier anyways, but we're not focusing on that today. But we're hoping to hand out as many scholarships as possible in Beldani very soon.
Right.
And
So,
Jagdish was helping us with that, but he's now in Texas, so he's still involved.
So Dr.
to an
Mahabir
extent.
just placed your WhatsApp number on the group chat. So for members of the audience who would like to
Please,
get in touch with Mr. Narendra Prashad to access the book or to make contributions, please feel free to contact him via WhatsApp. And Dr. Mahabir, let me ask you at this point in time, in your capacity as a publisher and longtime author, do you have any advice to share with Narendra about how he can go about getting this book out?
Yes, well, one way is to post it have a website, create the website, and you have the book and the prices. Shipping is expensive, but people can buy soft copies, Kindle and so on. So my books are put on Amazon. Somebody just has to do the formatting and post it, upload it to Amazon, and then you just collect a check every month or so. You don't have to do anything because
Yeah, we are
Amazon sells it for you.
Okay, we have the website already, so we are looking into it. We already checked with the publisher, and they said it'll take about 6 weeks to get it soft copy, the digital copy. So we are working on that right now.
Right, but you
But for
should
the
have
hard copy, we could mail the hard copy, and some people want the hard copy because people who know me want me to sign it and so on. So
yeah.
yeah.
Now I see that you have had a launch before, maybe in Canada,
No,
but
that's next Saturday. That's next
it's
Saturday.
coming up. It's coming up.
That's the in-person one. So those who are online right now, if you live around and in Toronto, it's next Saturday. I could share that with you, and you could come out to my place for that.
Right, and maybe you should think about New York. Well, you have to look at the concentration of Guyanese, where they are, and maybe one in Florida. I don't know about your mobility and time and resources, but certainly a book launch in Guyana will also do well.
Oh, okay.
Because in my experience as a writer myself and a publisher, most of the books are sold at the book launch.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, people buy, and you can ask people to buy and give us gifts. If
Yes.
like Christmas gifts or so, Diwali gifts,
Well,
right?
that's why I'm trying to push as much right now when it's fresh, because once it
Yes.
starts to and I'm asking people not to share with others. Don't lend it to your friend or whoever.
Yeah,
As long
yeah,
as they can afford to buy a copy, it's a fundraiser. So,
right.
as long as you can afford to buy a copy, and if you can't, just ask me and I'll offer you a copy. But try not to share with each other and so on. Otherwise
Yeah.
it defeats the purpose of what we're doing.
Right.
Good, thank you. Dr. Mahabir, did you want to say something else?
Yeah, the Guyana embassy in Canada can assist if you can approach them wherever you are
That's
going.
a good point.
Yeah, wherever you are going, try to find if there's a Guyana embassy in
Yes.
that area. There may be something in Florida, there may be something in New York and Toronto, and they would definitely help you with the logistics,
Yeah.
because it's a cost. Refreshments and PA system and seating
I
and
think I have a
decor.
few people. There are a few people on right now who are in Florida, so maybe we'll
Yeah,
hear from them
yes,
how
yes.
they can help.
Right. Good.
I know there's always the good old diasporic network. Anyone who's traveling out of Canada to go wherever can always take some in their
Yes.
suitcase on your behalf. Good.
Yes, because it's
Uh-huh.
very expensive. Postage
Yes.
is more expensive than the book
The
itself.
books. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So
And
if
I'm
you,
being conscientious about that too, because I don't want people to have to spend so much money on postage if we can help in a
right.
different way
So
to
if you
get it.
know of friends or relatives who are traveling and they can carry a few copies, that would help.
Yeah.
That would help.
Right. So let me ask a question on behalf of Chand Gupta. I know it was previously mentioned, but maybe Narendra, you can clarify. She's asking, what is the name of the organization that you're involved in, and where is it located in India?
No, we are set up. We are a charitable organization in Canada. We are incorporated in Canada. We're charity, and we don't have a physical space per se because a lot of things we can do is like right now what we're doing. You don't really need physical. It's all virtual. So we are. I mean, it's registered at my in Pickering. And so we are the charity, and then we have what they call intermediaries, or you can use a simpler word, partners. And we have three places: Guyana, Nepal, India. Three organizations there that we're dealing with. They're also charities. So Kushi Charitable Organization is in Rishikesh, and JBPS, it's long. Jagdish can say it. He can say it better than I can. uh, J Jyotirgan Parkari. I could know the
So
first part, yeah.
it's Jyotirgyan Paropkari Samaj.
Samaj.
Jyotirgyan Bhavan Paropkari Samaj.
Yeah. And in Guyana, it's Oaks of Righteousness Children's Homes. Did I get it right, Liz?
No. Oaks of Righteousness Children's Heart with a TH. Well, it
Oh,
is like a warm place
all
for
right.
children.
Okay.
Yes.
So those are the three partners that we're dealing with. So we raise the funds here, like I'm raising through the book or other means. We have fundraising events and so on. And we raise the funds and then we distribute to these three organizations. We are formally set up, Children's Education Fund. We are formally set up, so and we have contracts and everything with them, and everything is done very formal, very official. And our secretary, I know, was on today, Sarita, Ricky, and our treasurer, Peter Joku. They're on today, so we have a very formal setup, um, and everything is done above.
So you can also use social media platform. It's free.
Yes.
Instagram and Facebook and so on. And there are a lot of Guyanese networks.
Yes. So
So
Shankar is doing all of that. He's the
yeah,
young social media person and
right,
he's
right.
set up Facebook, TikTok,
Groups.
YouTube. He's got Instagram and LinkedIn. So he set up all of the different social media and he's doing
Yeah.
reels and so on
Because
those.
there are a lot of Guyanese groups on
Yeah.
Facebook I have found.
Okay.
It's a big diaspora because
Yes.
as you know, even now, more Guyanese live outside of Guyana than in Guyana.
In Guyana,
So
yeah.
you have to tap these people.
And it's the same as Nepal. Jagdish could say what we discovered. I found out. I mean, he knows, but one third of the young people in of Nepalese descent, one third of them are living outside of Nepal
Yeah.
because they can't get work. And one
Yeah,
of the things I can
almost.
expand a little bit on that is this is why we're helping. These kids, they have to. I've been there. I've traveled 24 hours on a bus to go from Beldani to Kathmandu, and I saw how difficult it is for them and what they have to do to survive and so on. And a lot of them leave. They go to Saudi Arabia. They go to Russia. I don't know what countries they go to the army and things like that. But the other younger ones are left with no parents because the parents leave them to go work and so on. It's not very nice in the villages. So that's what we're trying to help with that, because the kids are, they're going to be our future. They're going to be looking after us. And so we have to look after them now.
So that
Oh.
is a nice segue into a question that I had, which is how do you, or how did you select the groups that you assist?
Well, you guys met Kapil back in January. Kapil and I did a presentation on yoga and wellness and so on. When you did that session in January 18th, I was in Rishikesh at the time and we presented. So Kapil is a yoga teacher as well. And I met him when I went to Rishikesh the first time. And we started up the online yoga. And he works for a school for underprivileged children in Rishikesh. So I was interested in helping them. And they have after school programs to keep kids off of the street because kids go to school, then at 2 o'clock or whatever they get off, and that's when you see them roaming the streets and they go trying to sell, panhandle, sell flowers, sell whatever, and they're out there as little as 6, 7 years old, and they're helping to be the breadwinners of the family. So that organization was formed to keep them off the street, keep them in school until 6 o'clock in the evening. They give them a meal and send them home, and they come back the next day after. So they don't have time to roam on the street. And they do after school programs like learning the computers, learning social activities, and learning to dance and to sing and yoga and different things. They keep them there. So now in Nepal, it's a little newer, so they're just starting up. So Jagdish has done a lot of work. So then I got to meet Jagdish, and he is the one who's been helping with setting up the one in Nepal, and Lizette is in Guyana, and she's working on that in Guyana as well. Her charity set up in the States, actually. So that's how I've known. I am quite intimate. I know the people we are dealing with because it's not. I would be cautious about just collecting money and sending it anywhere because we don't have overhead. We don't have administrative costs, paying salaries and so on. All of the money we collect is used for the education of the children and their needs.
There are a few charitable groups operating from New York and Toronto and so on. I know Dr. Tara Singh, I don't know if you know that name. For a long while, he has been doing charitable work in Guyana, but
Oh, okay.
mainly concerned with health, I think. So if you can forge a linkage with these charitable groups,
Yeah. Okay.
right, you can
Yes.
have some partnership and they
Yes.
can help with shipping the books or promoting
Oh,
it
okay. Promoting.
and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. There's also the One Love movement in Toronto. Habib Ali, who is also from Guyana, formerly from Guyana, who's affiliated with Pakaraima Writers Group.
Mm-hmm.
He's at the head of that One Love movement, which is a charitable group. They have a food bank going very often. So he's somebody we can connect you with as well.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
great.
In New York, that's Tara Singh. I think probably your Dr. Dan Paul Narayan might also be very helpful.
Yeah. There are a lot of groups and individuals who do charitable work. So you have to, identify them and have a conversation and see how they can partner with you to facilitate. So you wouldn't have to invent the wheel.
Yes,
The wheel is already there. You just have to
Yeah.
to
And
go
I
with it.
mean, I don't know about books and book selling and all of that. So any help from so people who have the experience would be used.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So let's bring some of the other speakers into the conversation. I'm going to raise a question here, Jagdish, in his presentation, selected an important quote from your memoir. And I have in my notes, it reflected your absorption of the value system by which you live. And you got that value system from your parents' generosity and their principles. So to each of the speakers, I'd just like you to please respond. What advice would you give to children who reside with parents who are less principled?
Well, that's principled, right?
Okay,
You want to?
think, yeah, I think I should start, but I'm too young to answer this question, I guess. I only have a daughter at 18, but I can see it from my perspective that as a young kid, I mean, not kid anymore, but a young guy that looks up to Guruji and my teachers, my parents who taught me throughout. So what I would say is when someone that who has already lived the life says something, they are not only saying it, they are sharing the experience, the lived experience that young generations they have not seen yet. So that thing should be considered, taken into account. It's ultimately their choice whether to go this way or that way. But knowing that this way is going to be like this and that way is going to be like this would give them a fresh perspective to think before they make the decisions. So for the kids, I would say, for the young generations, it's your decision. Make your decision, but make it informed. And that information comes from someone who has lived that path and who has been to that path, and they could share this is how that road is. And then it's up to them whether they would like to choose this road and that road. And if they take it seriously, most of the time I would say we would end up getting the right path. But I'm sure Guruji, you know better than I do on this path, so you will be maybe able to share more.
Well,
Thank you.
I think I understood the question slightly differently, and and I will answer it slightly differently, but if it's someone in an environment, growing in an environment where they do not have the guidance, the leadership, the guidance, such as I did, uh, what do you do? Because that influence is very strong. You know, you're living there, you're sleeping there, you're there, that's where you are. So it's very strong. And therefore, that's why we have to come back to the old way of doing things. We have to live as a community. We have to be there to help others kids. So they might be so this is what we are trying to create, you know, in a formal way where we have the opportunity. So a lot of the kids, for example, in Rishikesh, they may not have a mother, they may not have a father, they may not have either. They might be with grandparents. They might have to. We had a 14-year-old girl whose mother had passed away. Her father was on the streets because he became an alcoholic. She had two or three older brothers, and they were not very good. So now she's the only girl. They lived with the grandmother, and the grandmother was picking up garbage as a job. She was a garbage collector, and she became ill. This is during the pandemic. We encountered this. She became ill, and the girl, someone had to work, so the girl started doing the job for the grandmother's job. So she's 14 years old. She's collecting garbage as a garbage collector. And Kapil told me about it, and I says, stop her like immediately. Tomorrow she doesn't go to pick up garbage. We will support her. So we started supporting her. And she had to buy medication for her grandmother who was ill and so on. So we started supporting her so that she could actually go back to school. And she did go back to school, but again, the influence is very strong at home. Her brothers were taking advantage of her and so on. So it became a little difficult. And so right now, that's been a few years. So she's probably older now, old enough, and who knows, maybe she's gotten married because then as soon as they are 15 years old, then they get them married or something. I don't know if her grandmother is still alive, but that's just an example of we try to provide the opportunity so that she could come there. So now there are 500 kids at that particular school that we support, Kushi. A lot of them, they don't have means of, and when they get to a certain age, they have to pay for schooling. So they're not able to go back to school. So we're providing scholarships and so on for them, and we are helping them with their needs, daily needs. We do every so often, we will pay for medical checkups for them and a different thing. We had one little boy, 10 years old, he had cancer. His mother couldn't pay. And mind you, he's 10. His mother was like 20 something. She's like a young kid herself. She didn't have any money to pay for his treatment. So we paid for the treatment and he's better. He's back in school now. I saw him when I was there the last time. So he's probably 13 or so now. So we are trying to fulfill as much of the need as possible, but there's only so much, at least. And the other thing is, at least if we help these children and guide them and take them to certain, then they give back. A lot of them give back. They start once they get into a position where they could. Some of the older ones, they're
Right.
helping.
Excellent.
If I can add to that, Liz, did you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
So if I could, I got a sense that the question was more of a generalized question, how you raise young people, kids to be good
Principles.
people, basically.
Yeah,
So
to be
first of all, we want to
principled.
know that, sorry.
So let me just reiterate. What advice would you give to children who reside with less principled parents?
Right.
Their parents are there, but they are less principled. So what would you advise them?
Well, aside from tell them to read the book that Naraindra wrote, that's one. But I think we know that children's minds are open to everything. So they're open to what can be negative and what can be positive. Unfortunately, if you're not in the home with them, it's maybe, Liz, you probably have a better grasp of how to deal with them outside of the home. But it really is always about leading by example and understanding. Empathy is to me the biggest thing. Understanding that you can be a positive force in this world if you understand other people's needs. Now they're themselves vulnerable, as you would say, but they can still be vulnerable people that learn that there's other vulnerable people in the world and marginalized communities to learn the need for not necessarily giving back, but understanding reasons for vulnerability, and then learning to cope with them and teaching people to cope with them. But I think where young minds are open to learning, and I think it's just a matter of getting the information into those young minds through schools, through the books, through just sharing information, through showing by example how to lead. It's tough when they're in that house. I dealt with a lot of that in my career. It's hard to get into the house. I have examples of situations where what I have seen young people, kids doing out in public that I would be appalled at, and their parents are applauding. And so how do you get in to tell young people that what your parents are applauding is not necessarily a good thing? It's hard to do that. But opening their minds to understanding and reading more information about how to overcome vulnerabilities, I think it's probably the only way I can think of it. I got what they used to call it back in the day, older sister, big sisters, big brothers and big sisters. As a big sister, I found it was difficult. You can't be judging, and you can't judge the people in the home. So you can't judge the parents. You have to somehow give the information to the children, let them discern it themselves over time.
Right.
I think
So you're able to give
I
them a
think
different
Liz
perspective.
might have some good experience with
Yeah.
that too, because
Sure.
in New York, yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
it is a loaded question and a good one. And to think that parents are less principled, that right there is a question mark. And how did that happen? in that sense. And of course, when you don't know, you don't know. And how do you teach when you don't know? So if a parent is not at a standard, then obviously as the author himself wrote in the book, influence or being positive, it's not a matter of instructions, it's actually the atmosphere that you live in. So it all boils down to, what do we give that child now? And what do we expect of that child when we don't give that child anything worthwhile? So it's us as the adults now to step in and to work in a gentle manner, in a loving manner, in a tender way, to let's say redirect the child now into saying, well, it's this is an option. And as Jackie pointed out, they are now growing, they're becoming, they're individualizing their personalities. And then, okay, so what do we do? Here I have, this is what I'm accustomed to, but this might go this way. So give them the options. And then even if you want to push it a little bit more, say, well, if you go in this direction, these can be your results. And think of what you want out of your life, and give them those options to think and to just reflect, and to give them a purpose as well, help them to search for their purpose and to make it happen for themselves, and to ask that question, what do we do with this life that is given to us? Coming back
And I think Liz, you actually used to go into the homes, right? When you were there.
Yes.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Every response is a great one, and it gives us a different perspective in terms of how to deal with the children in particular. But if we come back to the family being the basic institution that shapes a child's life, and Naraindra, from what has been read from your memoir, I think that is what you were saying, then we perhaps also need to reach out to some of those parents. We do need to keep informing and keep being part of society at large to make a difference in the lives of the adults who did not have perhaps a positive influence.
And take away the phones.
Yes, because only if it is that you have a positive influence from the parents can you have the children really benefiting, rather than rebelling or being seen as rebellious in the home, which could raise a whole other set of conflicts. Yeah. So you all are doing excellent work on your own, wherever you all are located, in the various places that you are located. And I want to congratulate all of you for the efforts. I want to say thank you very much for sharing what you have today, and it's been really enlightening. And I want to say it's been a very rich conversation as well. I want you to continue doing the good work that you are doing. And we will make some contacts on your behalf and share so that you could continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome. Thank you all.
So we'll bring today's program to a close now, and I now turn you all over to Ashley.
Yes, thank you very much. Wonderful presentations, a lot to learn. So thank you very much for being here with us today. Thank you to Shalima for being a great moderator as always, and welcome back again. Thank you all for taking the time to attend and participate. As was said earlier, this public meeting is being hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center. Feel free to contact the ICC to publish your books. Remember that we are asking you to kindly give us your suggestions. If you give a donation, your name will be placed on our poster and all promotional materials. Please contact Dr. Mahabir for details. Our topic next Sunday will be, should Indians demand reparations for indentureship part 2? Please be there. Thanks to our planning team led by Dr. Kumar Mahabir and Shalima Mohammed. Thanks to our IT consultants, Navin Mangal and Daryl Grantham. And thanks to Daryl again for designing the poster. Please visit, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to see all our past recordings. Thank you very much. And I am Ashley Sananan from Trinidad and Tobago saying Dhanyavad.
Thank you all for joining and staying this long. Thank you very much. Let's support this project.
Thank you.
And because it's a worthwhile cause. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. Take care.
All right. Thank